Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today you're a 24th century faction trying to reorder history to set off a chain reaction, which will be about your utopian vision for the world. Your chrono ships will be traveling through wormholes to visit different locations in space and time, trying to be the first to complete 3 butterfly effect missions. Utopia is a worker placement game for 1 to 4 players. It takes 1.5 to 2 hours to play. It's for ages 14 and up and published by Gravity Games. Now it's being crowdfunded right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works and I'll see you on the other side. This is a preview for a crowdfunding project, and all the art and components you see here are prototype, they're not final. Check the link in the description of this video to see the project page and see all the most up-to-date art and components. In Utopia, each player is going to have a motherboard of a specific color, like red in this case, and through a snake drafting method, you'll end up with 2 crew members on your mothership. And there's different types of crew members you can have, cultural, politicians, scientists, explorers, military, and it tells you which ones these belong to. For example, we have Florence Nightingale from a certain time period, so 1820 to 1910, and we have Alexander the Great from 356 BC to 323 BC. So you're going to be going through different time in this game and gathering different crew members, and you're going to be trying to complete different missions. In fact, the object of this game, it's a race. The first to complete 3 of the butterfly missions wins. For example, you might be saving the dinosaurs, defeating the imperial powers in Africa, and painting the Mona Lisa. 3 butterfly missions completed, we would have won. Now the game has a main board, and on this board are going to be different time zones. And these time zones are numbered, and these are in chronological order. For example, Imperial China in 500 BC, Classical Greece 348 BC, Viking Iceland 993, and Renaissance Italy 1492. Now each of these decks are shuffled, and you're going to find either crew members like Confucius, or maybe some technologies of some sort, like a longboat, for example. We'll talk about how you get these a little bit later. Then as we move up in chronological order, we have Revolutionary France in 1789, Victorian Britain in 1895, and Cold War America in 1963. There's Aretha Franklin, or maybe you get a motor vehicle of a technology that you create back then. Now there'll be a certain amount of these zones depending on the amount of players. For example, you'd add these 2 and 3 or more players. You'd add those 2 with 4 players, basically going out into the future of Mars, Jupiter, Andromeda, and the Milky Way. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the game, you're going to be snake drafting 2 of your crew members of different types, and you're going to have your specific chrono ships for these. And these are essentially your workers, because this is a worker placement game. And over the course of the game, you can gain other types of crew members in different styles here, and you'll be able to add those there, essentially giving you more workers, if you will. Now, Utopia is played in rounds, and each round goes through 2 phases. The first one is time travel, and the second one is recover, refresh, and reset. Now, during time travel, starting with the first player, players are going to go in clockwise order, placing one of their available chrono ships, which are essentially those workers, that has a crew member on it. And each of the different time zones have 2 different locations you can go to. The one like this on the right here shows you a type of knowledge you would gain by going here. So if I went here, we'll look at this icon, and we'll notice that matches this. Now these are knowledge tokens that you'll get from going there. And of course we would have gotten this one, which is exploration. But there's other types, like we have culture, we have politics, we have science, exploration, and we have military. Now you'll be able to take that knowledge marker and place it on your board. Now at the beginning of the game, you actually get 1 knowledge of each of the crew members that you got. So this was science, this is why we put it in science. You'd actually start with 1 of each of these. Now if we go to a place, a time zone, and we get a knowledge marker, if we don't have a crew member there, we just get 1. But if we had gone to science or military to gain knowledge, you actually get 2 because we already have a crew member there. So going and getting knowledge with someone who has a crew member, you get more of it thematically. Now, why are we getting knowledge markers? Well, I told you the goal of the game is to be the first to finish 3 missions, and we'll see this mission out here, to colonize the Milky Way. Now, this requires 4 knowledge of military, 2 knowledge of exploration, and your ship needs to be in Zone 11. Now, this other one, ally with the Incas, would need 4 politics, and you'd need 2 culture and be in 4, for example. So that's why you're getting those knowledges to be able to trade that knowledge in, or use that knowledge in order to finish those missions. Now let's say everyone else placed their chrono ship and now it's back to us. And let's say we go here. Now if we had gone here, we would have taken a science token. But let's say we're going to go here. This allows us, one of the things you can do here is get a technology here. So this is a technology card. And so we can, if we want to, spend 2 science. Anytime you're doing technology, it's always 2 science, regardless of which of your chrono ships goes here. Now each player's mothership has some drones. So we'll take one of these. And we're going to place it right in this drone spot so we know who is the one that created this technology. Now this is going to be important because in a future round, this is all going to open up. And if another player goes here, the player that created this technology gets to take one of those 2 knowledge markers. Another reason why it's important is this tells us what type of technology it was. And let's say we still had a chrono ship to place and we went here, we can complete one of these missions. And let's say we had one of our chrono ships in the time zone 7. We had 2 exploration tokens, and it required 2 technologies of that type. I just showed you one, but let's say we had another one. That's when you're able to get this mission done. But not only did you have to turn in that knowledge, you also have to turn in these different technologies. So you'd get your drone back, and this would just go to the bottom of that corresponding deck. Now this mission, when you're done with it, does a ripple effect. It says move your ship to 7C. Now there's these 2 decks of alternate time zones, one for B and one's for C. Now we're gonna go look for 7C. So you get card 7C and you get to decide which side it is. Do we do the first human on the moon? And we do this in 1969. We sort of talk about you sabotage Apollo 11. Or do we do this 7C, which is launch a nuclear Armageddon in 1974? So you can decide, and depending on what you do here is going to have different consequences, because this is going to open up a new action for pretty much anyone. Now immediately you're going to be able to place not only a drone of yours on here, but also the ship that was, that originally was moved from that card, and take this action. And since we're the ones to do this, we take it twice. So here we would have gotten 2 knowledge, but if we flip it over this way, then we're going to see a new action that we haven't yet talked about. This one right here. So we place that there, which essentially gives us 2 knowledge discs of our choice. Now in a 2-player game, there'll be 1 for C and 1 for B that's opened. And in a 3-player game, a second B opens, and in a 4-player game, a second C opens. So there could be more of these out with more players. Now let's say we were playing a 2-player game and there's only 1 C. Let's say another player does a mission that allows them to get a C card that would replace this. So let's say in the 2-player game, this got replaced because the green player finished a mission that allowed them to get 4C, and so it would replace the card that I had on there, and if I still had a ship on there, it would be lost into limbo. We'll talk about how you get these back later. Now there's a lot of different abilities that can show up on some of those extra time zone cards like we just showed, but there's also different abilities from your crew members. Because each time you place one of your ships, you're going to activate the ability of that specific crew member. Like in this phase here at the end of the round, you may recover crew members from limbo for free. We just talked about that. Now to get someone back in limbo, you'd either have to spend 1 knowledge of the type that is that crew member. So we would have had to spend 1 military or any 2. Now let's look at this ability. When you complete a butterfly effect mission, you gain 2 free knowledge discs of your choice. Now so far we've been showing you going to get technologies or maybe getting a specific knowledge marker, but you might be going to a spot and not here, and this shows technology or crew member. We go here, there's not a technology there, there's a crew member there. We would want to get this crew member and add them to our ship. Now this one has science. Now we already have a science crew member, so if we did that, it wouldn't cost us anything, but this would go to the bottom of its respective time zone deck and we would get the new crew member there. But instead, maybe we went here to recruit this crew member because maybe we don't have one yet that's in culture. Now we see here, your 3rd crew member costs 2 knowledge tokens, the 4th is 3, and the 5th is 4 of them. We were able to put it like that. So we get that chrono ship, but we would have had to spend that much knowledge of the primary type. So I would have had to have had 3 culture tokens in order to, culture knowledge, in order to, spend those back to the supply in order to place this crew member. But look at her cool ability. When you go to get another crew member and recruit them, the knowledge markers you spend to get them could be any type. Now there's another type of action you can go to is trade, essentially turning in any 2 of the same knowledge markers for any other 2 knowledge markers that are the same type. So like 2 culture for 2 science, for example. Now earlier we showed you completing a mission, but usually when you go here, you get to select any one of these missions, and then anything above it sort of slides down and gets refilled. And normally this would go here because this is the mission that you're working on, and then when you complete it, you would flip it over, but I kind of wanted to keep the artwork up to show you how nice these things look. So you could plan ahead, get a mission that you think you're going to be able to get, put it on your board, and just wait till the time, because you can always complete one mission per turn, assuming you have all the requirements met. Now let's say you place onto this spot, it has a question mark for the type of knowledge token you take. We'd look at the top of the deck, and this is a science crew member, so we would take a science. If it was this, we would take the culture token, but if our primary, crew member, their primary thing is culture, which it is because this is the culture ship, we'd instead take 2 of those. But instead, if it was a technology instead of a crew member, you would take science. Which means if you place the chrono ship that was for the science, you'd actually take 2 of them in this example. Now let's show you the last action. This is Assassinate. If you go here, you can assassinate another player's chrono ship. So let's say we wanted to assassinate this blue player's. It would get removed. You would place that ship in the limbo, and you place one of your drones in that spot and take that action. So it's a way to remove a player from a spot that you want to go to, allowing you to take that action, and you also get the first player marker. So players will keep going in clockwise order in this first phase of time travel, placing the workers and doing all the different things that I've shown you. Then you're going to go to the second phase, which is recover, refresh, and reset. During recover, you can recover your ships from limbo, which is either 1 knowledge disk matching the crew member's primary power or any 2 knowledge disks. Now, if they can't pay or don't want to, then they remain in limbo and they can't be used in the following round. And then for any spots that don't have a drone or any ships, you put the top card on the bottom of the deck, and now you have a new, different card there that might incentivize people to go there now. And if nobody had gone to Zone 8 to get a mission, you'd put the bottom on the bottom of the deck, slide them down, and put a new one out. Now these rounds continue like this until one player has completed 3 missions. That player wins. Now there is a solo mode in the game. It's played somewhat differently, and there is an actual villain deck that is separate. It's not used in the regular game, but it is used in the solo game. Here's some of the villains in that deck. And if you want to learn more about the solo game, again, click that link below. And there's also a cooperative variant, which also uses this deck. Again, click the link below to learn more about that variant. Well, there you have Utopia, and as I showed in the overview, it provides a unique experience every time as the combination of different crew members, technologies, and missions call for the constant revision of player strategies. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art, components, and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me, and I'm sure that Gravity Games would love your support.